Hey, it's Jack, the one and only, sharing the moments I lived through and the story I've learned from others. Thanks for being here again. Today, I want to share something not dramatic, not heroic, not glamorous, but extremely personal. It's the story of how I realized I was already leading long before anyone called me a leader. And honestly, I didn't see it, not even close. It didn't happen in a single moment, not a big event, not a milestone. It was more like small dot that only make sense when I look backwards. A series of tiny shifts, quiet experience, moments that felt ordinary when I was leaving them, but somehow shaped who I became. This is one of the episodes where you might see pieces of yourself. Not because I'm giving advice, I'm not, but because sometimes hearing someone else's journey help you understand your own. So let me start. Not from the moment I became a leader, but from the moments I didn't even know leadership was happening. If I think back to my early working years, I wasn't aiming for leadership. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just someone who wanted to do things right. That was enough for me. I like clarity. I like certainty. I like knowing what was expected. And most of all, I like keeping things stable. Maybe it's my personality, maybe it's my upbringing, maybe it's my fear of messing up things. Whatever the reason, I always gravitated towards being the person who keep things going rather than the person who lead the way. I didn't volunteer to take charge. I didn't push people. I didn't tell others what to do. I didn't want to be the loudest voice. I didn't want the spotlight. I just delivered my part quietly, reliably, consistently. At least that was how I saw myself back then. But there's something funny about life. Sometimes you are already becoming something without realizing you are becoming it. It started in small ways. I didn't have a title, but people somehow began asking me questions. Questions they could have Googled. Questions they could have asked someone else. Questions that weren't even my responsibility. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then it happened more. Zach, do you think this approach is okay? Zach, can you help check this? Jack, you free to look at this problem? Zach, what do you think about this timeline? I remember saying in my head, why me? I'm not the lead. I'm just doing my parts. But somehow people continue coming to me. Not because I was the smartest. I wasn't. Not because I was the most experienced. Definitely not. And certainly not because I had authority. I had none. They came because I was consistent. I was present. I care. The time, I didn't recognize this as leadership. I saw it as being helpful, being reliable, being supportive, and maybe that was enough. There was a period where everything felt messy. It wasn't anyone's fault, just normal project life. Requirement shifted, deadline tightened, half the team was tired, the other half was confused, meeting kept happening, but nothing felt aligned. And I remember the feeling frustrated, not the angry kind, not blaming anyone, just that internal heaviness you get when you look around and think, why is everything so unclear? I didn't want to step in. I didn't want to act like I knew better. But I also didn't want to sit there pretending I didn't see the confusions. One day, after a particularly chaotic call, I closed my laptop and just sat there, quiet, still, not thinking, just breathing. Then one thought floated into my mind. If I can see the problem, maybe I should try to solve it. Not because it was my job, not because I wanted recognition, but because leaving things messy didn't feel right to me. I didn't realize it then, but this was one of the earliest shifts, moving from I just do my parts to I care about the whole thing working. Leadership often starts with frustration, but the kind born from caring. not from ego. There was a meeting, not a dramatic one, just a normal alignment call. People were talking in circles. No one was wrong, but no one was moving forward. And before I even realized it, I spoke. It wasn't planned, it wasn't bold, it wasn't loud. It just came out. Something like, hey, can we pause a moment? Let's step back and list down what we actually know, then what's unclear. I think we are missing too many things together. Everyone stopped, and for a second, my brain panicked. Oh shit, why did I say that? But instead of ignoring me, people listened. Someone said, yeah, good point. Another one said, okay, let's do it. And suddenly, the discussion moved in a calmer directions. That moment stayed with me, not because I lead the meeting, but because for the first time, I saw a glimpse of myself as someone who could calm a room, even when I didn't mean to. After the meeting, I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel heroic. I just feel responsible. As if once you know you can make a difference, you can't pretend you don't know. One of the biggest shifts didn't happen during a project call, or a crisis, or a conflict. It happened on a normal day when I noticed someone on the team looks tired. Not a normal tired, the deeper kind. The kind where you can feel something is waiting on them, even if they are smiling. The kind where you know they are trying to hold everything together, but their eyes give them away. I didn't say much, just asked, you okay? Not in a formal way, just human. They opened up a little, nothing deep, just enough to show me they weren't okay, but they were still trying. Later that day, I helped cover parts of their tasks, quietly. No announcement, no credit. I didn't do it to lead. I did it because I could not watch someone drown in silence. Only years later, I realized leadership sometimes looks like empathy before it looks like direction. That moment taught me that sometimes people don't need a leader. They need someone who sees them. There comes a period where pressure hit all at once. Urgent requests, tight deadlines, client expectations shifting hourly, people stress, long nights, constant adjustment. You know the kind of pressure that makes you question everything. During that stress, I wasn't thinking about leadership at all. I was just trying to survive. But something interesting happened. Every time pressure increased, I stepped in quicker. Not perfectly, not always confidently, but naturally. When someone was stuck, I asked questions. When the direction was unclear, I tried to summarize. When tension rose, I calmed the room. When chaos hit, I looked for the simplest next step. I wasn't trying to be the one in charge. I was just trying to stop things from breaking further. But looking back, that instinct was leadership. Not glamorous, not beautiful, but real. And that kind of leadership, born from pressure, is the kind that stays with you. It wasn't one moment, not one action, not one meeting. It was many small experiences that slowly begin to form a picture, like drop of rains that eventually show you the shape of the window. I didn't wake up thinking, I'm a leader now. It was more like one day, I paused, looked at how I have been acting, and realized I was just leading long before anyone gave me the permission to. I just didn't recognize it. This realization didn't come with pride. It came with humility and a bit of fear. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. What surprised me the most wasn't the people listen to me sometimes, or the team members come to me for clarity, or that I naturally step in when things got messy. What surprised me was how different I feel inside. Not stronger, not more confident, not more capable, but more aware. I remember one evening, I was reviewing something alone, coding, and I paused halfway through a sentence. Something told me, this is not how a person who only does his part thinks. It was a strange moment, like catching your reflection from an unexpected angle. Not flattering, not dramatic, just honest. That was the first time I admitted to myself that maybe I had been leading longer than I realized, longer than I accepted, longer than I dared to admit. It wasn't a proud moment, more like a quiet, gentle shock, a recognition of something I had been avoiding. Because leading came with responsibility, responsibility came with fear, and fear was something I tried to avoid. People think leadership resistance came from laziness or humility. No, mine came from fear. Fear of not knowing enough, fear of giving the wrong direction, fear of disappointing others, fear of being seen as incompetent, fear of becoming someone people rely on and then failing them. I carried this fear quietly, never said them, never processed them, never admit them. Instead, I told myself things like, I'm better behind the scene. I don't need to lead. I don't want that responsibility. I just want to do my parts. But deep inside, those weren't belief. They were sure. Because once you admit that your voice has weight, even quietly, you can't hide behind, I'm not ready. You can't pretend you don't see the bigger picture. You can't deny that people already see you as someone they can lean on. You can't run away from a role you didn't choose, but somehow grew into. There were so many small moments that didn't look like leadership, but shaped me anyway. Moments like answering a difficult question honestly, calming a teammate who was panicking, staying later because someone else wasn't done, asking the question no one dared to ask, summarizing a messy discussion into something simple, noticing tension and softening my tone, carrying parts of burden without announcing it, stepping back when someone else needed space, stepping forward when no one else would. None of these moments felt like leadership at the time. They felt like being human. But now when I look back, these were the real building blocks. No titles, no promotions, no KPIs, no recognitions. Just showing up when it matters in the smallest way. There was one conversation that makes everything click. I didn't realize it at the time, but that memory stayed with me. I was in the pantry, tired, heartbroken, a long day, and colleagues walked in. She looked at me for a moment and said, "You know, you are one of the steady one." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it felt untrue. She looked at me seriously and said, "No, I mean it. When things get messy, you are the one who doesn't panic. Even when you don't have the answer, you give people a sense of direction." She walked away after that. Just one quick comment on a random evening. But that line echoed in my head for months. You are one of the steady ones. I didn't feel steady. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel qualified. But maybe leadership does not care about how you feel. Leadership reveals who you become when pressure meets responsibility. There was no big ceremony, no dramatic shift, no sudden clarity. But one day, I caught myself doing this naturally, guiding conversations, calming tensions, noticing people's emotions, structuring messy discussion, s- stepping forward in chaos, stepping aside for others to grow, taking responsibility quietly. And it hits me quietly, gently, deeply. I didn't become a leader one day. I grew into one slowly when I wasn't looking. When I finally accept this truth, something inside me softened. I no longer compare myself to the typical leader. I no longer feel the need to pretend I didn't care because I did. I always did, even when I tried to hide it. My leadership didn't grow from power, it grew from presence, not from authority, from awareness, not from ego. from empathy, not from loud decisions, from quiet consistencies. It grew from moments where I chose responsibility over confidence, compassion over distance, understanding over judgment. I didn't know it then, but these choices were shaping me. And by the time I realized it, I wasn't becoming a leader. I already was one. But here's the part I haven't shared. Leadership didn't only show up in beautiful moments. It also reveals itself in painful ones. And there was one situation, one incident, where I didn't step up, where I knew something was wrong, but I stayed silent, where I let fear win, where people are affected. That moment taught me more about leadership than all the successful moments combined. It's not a story I'm ready to share today, but it coming later in this series. Maybe episode 8, maybe when the timing feels right, but it will come because that moment become a turning point I didn't expect. If you are still here, thank you. This episode isn't about how to lead. It's not a guide, not a lesson. It's just my journey. How leadership appeared in my life quietly, slowly, through pressure, through frustration, through empathy, through responsibility, through fear, through mistake, through present. It's a journey I never planned, but somehow walked into. Next week, we are going to change a tone a little. We are moving into something more chaotic, more humorous, a bit messy, and very real. Something that happened during a deployment that still make me cringe and laugh at the same time. See you in episode 3. Bye.